Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, y'all. We listen. The
Hello,
devil
me.
is busy.
The devil is busy.
The devil
Oh
is
man.
busy.
And you know what?
Um.
This in my brain. I'm even upset that I pushed the wrong. Well, I am upset, but that ain't the reason I'm upset. I'm upset because I, I lost track of where the conversation was going at the point in time. So now, like, I gotta kind of feel myself back in. Where
Well,
were
you
we
were
at
talking
before we were?
about
Yeah,
Enoch and no, Yahushua was talking about Enoch and Elijah.
terrestrial, celestial, in
It's
pertaining
talking about
to
these other dimensions interacting
right.
with the earthly
Okay,
realm and stuff like that.
okay, got you.
And our belief in that, and kind of where how we got to that is where we were like, how can a person go from believing based on an experience they had to not believing if they've
Yes,
actually
okay,
had an
got
experience?
you.
And that was like the premise of like where we ended things. So it's just like, what does a person have to do? Going back to the other points, like what would a person have to do, or what would have to happen for a person to go from believing to not believing? Just like what would have to happen for a person to believe? There's an experience.
Okay. All right, I got it. Thank you. So one of the things that I was saying is, and maybe this is just me. So in situations like that, it doesn't cause me not to believe. It causes me to reevaluate how I believe. Because like I said, if I've
I
already
like
had
that.
the experiences,
I
then
like
I
that.
know that. Oh, thank you. I've had the experiences, then I know there's certain things that's not going to be taken away from me. However, if there's a certain belief system or saying or scripture that I'm always quoting or using this as my power source, and then I see things practically go against that which I say I believe, for me it doesn't mean that that scripture or that saying or that belief is not true necessarily. The first thing I have to look at is, how am I incorrectly interpreting what this is supposed to mean?
One of
So
the
then
things
that's
that
what you got to ask yourself.
I learned in regards to reading the Bible as such, because it can seem far fetched to the person that's reading it. Um, and when you read certain things that be like, I don't believe that crap, or that sounds a bit weird. Is having an imagination. You have to have an imagination in order not to go within the realm of whatever the Bible talks about, and I'm being specific, not specific, in regards to certain things that the Bible mentions, like a talking animal for one, the earth opening its mouth,
Right.
seeing creatures that has four heads and six wings, and a creature that has six wings and is in the form of a serpent, or a half man, a half animal type creature, like those type of things. um it's like you have to be a kid again. You have to have that imagination to be able to understand, like, maybe these type of creatures do exist, or maybe this or that does exist, if it's being mentioned and talked about, in a book that is very influential, or maybe even in other books that may mention, similar or different things. You got to have that imagination to be able to stretch beyond the realm of human understanding, because our mind is so condensed to understanding human things, not knowing that we can tap into the spiritual part of it, spiritual element. But there's a maturity level that has to be there, or a person has to reach in order enough to
Ooh,
comprehend
ooh.
what they may witness in that type of realm.
So
Well, I
Yehukanan,
gotta
I
push
would
back.
argue. Hold on, Denise. Hold on, Denise.
Mhm.
I would have, when you say there's a maturity level, I would argue that the maturity should probably need to come from the person who believes that. And what I mean by maturity is, be mature enough to know what you believe but also be mature enough to know that it's far fetched, and I should not try to expect or force another person to believe something that's that out there.
Unless they're open to receiving it, because a lot of people are not receptive to that type of information when it's
Yeah,
being shared by
But
somebody.
if they're open to receive it, then why would I have to press it upon them versus them getting that
You
for
don't have to
themselves?
necessarily press it upon them, but the conversation can come up, and it could be a
Mhm.
part of the conversation, and it can be like this, that, and the third. You don't want to really press what you believe onto somebody else because they're gonna throw those walls up immediately. But you can, like, present it in a different way to where it can plant the seed in their head, and they can be like, oh, okay, well, let me look into that. Because you don't want, those
Hang on.
many of people that are believers become very, very fanatical, if that is a word, in regards to pressing their beliefs upon somebody. Like, you have to believe this or you're going to hell.
Yes,
You have to believe this or you're going to die, or whatever the
and
case
that's
may
what I've
be.
moved away from.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, yeah. And I like, people going to believe what they want to believe, and they're going to stand 10 toes down on whatever it is that they believe. The only thing you can do is just plant the seed and allow, it to manifest in the way that it's supposed to. And it's just like this. They can either receive it or they can reject it.
Okay, I have a question, right? And this is just across the board. This is like across religion, politics, life, how you choose to raise your kid, whatever. Um, why do we have such a strong need to try to make someone believe what we believe? What is that about? Why can't we
validate,
just let a person rock
self-validation.
out?
People don't believe this, but it comes back to self-validation. You feel like, and this ain't even just Christianity. This is a whole lot of stuff going on.
I'll say
If I get
apocalypse.
enough people to agree with the way that I believe, then for me it will
Be right back.
validate how. Yeah, go ahead. For me, then it will validate for myself what I believe. But the truth is, you shouldn't need
There we go.
everybody to get on board and with the because
There we go. There
And
we
so-
go.
so-
right
so-
there.
I'll even say this, and that's one of my biggest issues with the alphabet people, because it's not a like, okay, if you say, hey, I don't agree, I don't believe that's right. Well, we don't want people discriminating against us. We don't want any type of hatred or discrimination. Okay, I get that. So let me just say, yes, I believe that all people, no matter what your background, sexual orientation, whatever, we should all be treated equally as humans. We should all have the same rights.
Mm-hmm.
We should all have the same opportunities. In my opinion, that should be enough. But it's not. It's not enough just to say that, yes, we all should be treated equally and fairly, and I will stick up for your right to be treated like a human being. But it's, do you agree with us? If you don't agree with us, then something is wrong. Like, why do I have to agree?
See, well, so here's the issue. The issue comes
That's when you're
in-
taking it too far for me.
The issue comes in when you can't agree on what you think is equal. Because what you think is equal and what someone else thinks is equal and fair is not the same thing. And like, for example, I agree. I'm like, you know what? LGBTQ plus community, you should have equal rights. Where I cross the line is, and this has been popular in the news because of who knows what's going on with this particular story, what's true, what's false, what's what. But just in regards to transgender people participating in sports. If you were born a man and you transition to a woman, I don't believe that you should be able to participate in women's sports. That is where I draw the line.
Did we
said
change
it a million
subject?
times. Huh?
Did we change subject?
No.
No. We're talking about beliefs and why the question was, why would a person try to convince someone to believe what they want to believe?
Oh, okay, because I hear you talking about LGBTQ HIJK elemental P.
And so Q was saying because people want to be validated, and then Q mentioned the LGBTQI plus community, and he was saying that we don't have to agree on certain things, but he does agree that people should have equal rights. And then I then chimed in and said the issue that comes in is what you think is equal rights and fair, and what somebody else thinks is equal rights and fair is two different things, and that's why there's always a blow up between the community, the LGBTQI plus community, and other people.
HIJK Yeah.
That's the reason why I feel like one of the main reasons there's the people there's like different little subsets. There's like people, there's like people who don't agree with the lifestyle, but it's still like, hey, rock out, do your thing. I don't agree, but hey, do whatever you want. I'm not gonna stop you from your rights. Then there's the group of people who are like, hey, I don't agree with none of this shit. Matter of fact, let's put some laws in place, and no, you can't rock out. And then there's a group of people who this is their life and their livelihood, and they're just only asking for equal rights. And then there's another group within that group that is like, this is my life. I want equal rights, and I want other extra stuff that ain't necessarily like there's like 4 groups within the confusion.
But that's what happens. So okay, so I'll give you an example. There's certain people who hate rap music. They think it's vile and disgusting, misogynistic, violent, so forth. Regardless, there were still some of those very same people who didn't like the music. They still rallied and they marched because they believe in free speech. So when Luke, remember 2 Live Crew, and they had to go to Congress and they was going all back and forth, there was a lot of people who hated rap music, but they believed in freedom of speech, and they believed if we could play this music, if we have the right to speak, then it should go across the board, regardless of how I personally feel about this music. I feel that it should be even across the board. That's fairness. I don't have to, well, but do you like the music? But do you like the music? And then society, see, nowadays, like, do you like it? Well, it don't matter if I like it. Yeah, it do matter if you like it. Do you like it or not? Because I'm gonna try to cancel you as soon as I can if you say you don't like it. And I can still be an advocate for something just as much as anyone else, even if I don't like it. But I may agree with the principle of it. Principally speaking, I believe that everyone should be afforded the same opportunities and be treated like people the same way. There's no way that a heterosexual person should be treated any better than anybody else. So I can stand on that regardless of what I personally feel about a person's lifestyle. But that's not enough for a lot of people. I also, and see, this goes back to my original statement, because they're looking for self-validation. See, if you don't tell me I'm right in what I'm doing, then that doesn't validate me. I need everyone to agree with the way that I look at it and I think this thing, so that I feel better about myself and how I live.
Right. I think when it comes to a person saying, like what you just said, which is, I need you to agree with me, or I think that you're wrong, or you're treating me unfairly because you don't agree. Like when it gets down to that, like that's just a person that's not, that they're not applying logic in that situation, because they are they have so many emotions attached to the acceptance, or whatever the case may be. There's so much trauma attached to it, so they're unable to think logically. But logically, you should be able to say, I don't agree, but I support. And that should be the end of it. But again, what you think is equal rights and what somebody else thinks is equal rights is 2 different things.
And see, my issue ain't even with, okay, maybe you got a little beef, a little issue with somebody who say they don't agree, and you want to have a conversation about it. There's a lot of people, probably including myself, who don't publicly speak out if they agree or not.
Mm-hmm.
But you want to get that sound bite. You want to get that, okay, but do you agree with, hey, I support you. Whether I agree or not, it don't matter. No, it does matter. Do you agree? And you get people who want to get your personal opinion to decide if you're ally or enemy.
Mm.
And I think they're looking for, people like that are looking for self-validation. You find that in all different areas. You find a lot of people, some people, you know, they hate the institution of Christianity. They think everything should be burned down to the ground and we shouldn't have any rights. There's other people like, yo, I don't care what you do. As long as it help make you a better person, you do you, and I'm gonna do me. But then you have people like, but do you believe that, you know, it's like, it don't matter if I believe. I advocate for your right to believe what you want to believe.
Right. And I feel like that's where we need to get. But we're not living in that world anymore where people apply logic. We are living in a world full of sensationalism and polarization and, you know, the need to pick a side on everything. We're in that. That is the current zeitgeist that we are living in right now. And I'm tired of it. It's exhausting. Literally every day there's a new, every day, every week, every few days, there's a new thing that everybody is invested in arguing about. And it's just like, newsflash, you don't even really care like that.
Nope.
You just want to argue. And so
Take a knee. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Can you repose your question about the forcing?
Oh,
you remember
yeah,
your question?
Yeah.
Forcing
So the question was, why do you feel like people feel the need to convince other people to feel like they feel? Why can't people believe in whatever they believe and go on? Why do people feel the need to make others believe what they believe as well? What do you think that's rooted in?
Okay, because I have an answer to that. One of those things is the apocalypse or the end of the world as we know it. That this world. I will in a minute. Give me a second. That this world is doomed for destruction. So when you have people that believe in that, in particular, I'm gonna use Christianity, or you know those who believe that you know the world is about to end as we know in existence. They push their belief to folks in efforts to try and save their souls because they believe that their souls are doomed for destruction. Like this whole world is going up in, you know, in smoke, flames, or whatever. So they doing their best to be like, hey, we need you to, you know, come over and save your soul. And it's been happening for, you know, for some time in regards to you know, those particular groups, religious groups that do that. And I'm just giving you one dynamic because I'm pretty sure there's more, but that's just one dynamic as far as like from my experience of background in regards to, you know, why people are, you know, forcing their beliefs on others to, try to get them to convert. I'll say that's the word, convert, because of, you know, situations like that.
Well,
like
that's
they
only
believe
from a religious standpoint, though.
What would it? Well, what's from there?
I think to back you up, you Hukanon, though, I think that also that does apply to other aspects. Like for example, like going back to politics, there are people who are convinced that either side is going to destroy America, and like that is the belief. Like all I feel like most of the time, the reason why people feel so strongly in pushing their beliefs on other people, it is almost always, if it's not ego based, it's fear based, which is a version of fear, right? Ego. So I feel like most of the time it's fear based.
Okay, but Denise, that's still the same thing what I said
Yeah,
though.
that's another one.
Hold on,
That's
let me
another
say
one, a
this.
fear tactic.
But let me say this. Let me say this before I lose my thought. It's the fear that was passed on to them. They're now trying to pass it on to you.
Ooh, ooh,
But again,
ooh.
their whole ideology, if it's based off of fear, there's an uncertainty with what you say you believe. So because of that uncertainty, we got to get other people on board. It's a groupthink mentality. If we get other people on board with us, then that will reinforce and validate our belief system. It lets me know that, yes, I am right in what I'm doing. See, you see all of these other people who are converting and starting to think like me. I knew I was right. You don't really believe that because you were this information was passed on to you by fear in the first place. So it wasn't even like it was based off of a real belief. You got scared into believing something. And that goes back to politics. Our country's going to come to an end if we allow this Democrat to get in office. That's fear-based tactics.
So
And you've adopted that belief, but you're not even sure about it yourself. So you get others on board with you, and the more people around you who conform to that belief makes you feel better about your decision.
Because you don't want others to die or perish, in a sense.
I think it's more ego. I think it's more self-driven than you think, though. But go ahead.
Asking that question. Can you hear me?
Yeah. What
you?
that?
Yeah.
I was asking, what was your motive behind asking that question as far as somebody forcing what they believe on somebody?
My motive is because I want to challenge people to think, not y'all. Like, I know y'all are thinkers, hence we're on free thinkers, and the people who are listening. But I just want to understand the divisiveness and bring it to the forefront what the root of all this divisiveness is, because it's happening on almost every front, and I feel like it's been more extreme in the last 8 years to 10 years.
What do you mean by extreme? Like, can you give me some examples?
Yeah, like gender wars. People got to pick a side there.
Right.
You know, Israel, Palestine. People feel like they got to pick a side there. I mean, back in the days, and it's not to say that people aren't just are being more conscientious, and maybe that's why people care. But before, I mean, this has been going on for before our parents were born, before our grandparents were born, before great grandparents were born, and all of a sudden now, and I get it, I understand, but all of a sudden now it's a hot topic that people want to debate about. And
Have you ever watched a social experiment?
It's gaining momentum.
I guess you could call it gaining momentum, but I feel like this is a long-standing thing that we've known about for, I mean, the whole term peace to the Middle East and all these other things, doesn't that come from that whole situation with that's been going on there? Am I making this up? Do you think based on the examples that you've mentioned and all the other things that you've seen recently that has is gaining ground, that there may be a cataclysmic event approaching? You mean like the end of the world? Whatever you define cataclysmic event, you know, as far as something that's going to basically change the entire landscape as we know it, or the entire world as we know it. Are we going to enter a new world, or you know, with a new government and the way that we do things? Do you think that this is on the verge, or the things is on the verge of the cataclysmic event that is going to change the world as we know it? The cataclysmic event has already happened. That social media that has shifted. Social media is and whoever can control social media and whoever can literally what's the term, the social engineering that happens on social media has more control than the government. Like, the cataclysmic event has already happened and we're living in it. Things are very different from the way that we grew up. In some ways, a lot better, and some ways a lot worse. But anytime that literally the internet, social media can decide that the wars that that are happening within, that are, what is the word? What is the words I'm looking for? But there's so many wars happening right now. When you talk about World War III and all this other shit, like, we're in it. We are in it. Because all we are doing all the time is constantly fighting with each other all the time on whatever topic, no matter how small. That cannot be good for your mental health, to constantly be at war and constantly feel like you have to be on the defense of something, constantly seeing dead bodies all the time on the internet that you can't even control. They got a little bit better with it, but it's absurd. Like, there has been no other generation of people who've had to experience this level of mental turmoil as regularly as we do. Like, this is not normal. Something is wrong with this, and nobody cares because everybody's just so busy. I'm not gonna say no one cares, but it seems like a lot of people don't care because more people are just trying to spend time being right than people are actually trying to get on the same page with each other. And it's kind of sick. It's sick. We're facing mental warfare every day by deciding to be on these platforms, deciding to argue with each other, deciding to do all this crap. We are in the war. We've been in the war. This is the cataclysmic event, in my opinion. Q.
Dr. Q.
No, I think that's no, I don't think I have anything.
You had something. You just want to wrap
I did,
it up.
but I lost it. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I lost it.
He must have been high over there. He high on
Answer the
something.
question Yuhukanon had then.
No, I ain't high. You said
You high,
something, and
you high on something.
it went a slightly different direction.
I'm just messing with you, man.
But no, I think yeah, yeah, I think I got it out.
Good out. Okay.
All right. So we had 27. Any other final thoughts about this, or did we get it out? I mean, there's a whole lot of more different directions we can go, but so yeah. See,
Final
I'm
thought.
glad. See, this is what I'm learning, Denise. I never announced what tonight's topic was going to be, because I have a feeling every time I talk to Denise, we start going.
That I had that thought in my head as far as
we
like
start going down this rabbit hole, and we end up going. We never even. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna hold on and see if we get to it.
Episode. That's what we'll call this one, the rabbit hole episode.
That's what we be having, them rabbit holes. And I'm like,
yeah, Q. I had that thought. I was like, I was gonna ask you that question. Like, what's the title of the episode? I was gonna ask you that, but you beat me to it.
Now we could do it next week because we ain't even touch it. We ain't even tell you. We ain't touch it. So.
It's very interesting. It's an interesting option, which I think would probably be better with more people anyway.
Yeah, I agree.
We'll see how many percentage. Well, yeah, we won't get into it, but yeah, I think it'll be better with more people. But all that to say, like, my closing words are, hey y'all, before you pick an argument with someone, again, I said this so many times during the pandemic, maybe don't get in that comment section. Maybe slide into DMs, have a conversation if you're really trying to figure out where someone's coming from. So, like, doing things so publicly is going to always feel like an attack when you're disagreeing with another person. Wow. Like, let's think about ways that we don't have to agree, but we can try to understand. Everything doesn't have to be a fight. Wow. Everything doesn't have to be an attack. Let's try to find ways where we can get on one accord. Because let me tell you, arguing with people all day, 24/7, it ain't good for your mental health. It doesn't matter how much you get the one up on them. It ain't good for you.
Let me throw something else in on that.
What's some stank on
90? If 90, or I'll say if most or almost all of your conversations, debates, interaction happen online, you are out of balance and you're operating in a way that you think it's reality and it's not actually reality. And what I would suggest anyone to do, I mean, if you have a strong desire to debate, have, those, and they healthy. That's what we do here. We enjoy it and we love it. But if all you do and the only time you have these type of conversations is online, then your balance is off. You need to go find someone or a group or a circle or a tribe that you can have reconnect with your friends, your family, somebody where you can have in-person actual conversations to balance. You need that balance. People, I think more than anything, people don't realize how because even when you on most platforms, most social media platforms, even when you're having these conversations and arguments and debates, you're arguing on a platform that's designed to be polarizing. They make conversations yay, nay, red, blue, black, white. Nuance is a very lost thing when it comes to conversation and social media. And you realize, and like you try to figure out, why is people so crazy? Because you're on crazy platforms trying to have real life conversations and it ain't gonna work right. Your balance is off. Find you a tribe, find you a group, find you some people in person where you could sit in front of another human being and there's a different level of respect energy that's transferred back and forth. You'll find they're totally different conversations versus you trying to fulfill certain itches that you have on social media. It's not the same. That's all.
Makes me wonder of having free thinkers in person every week. But that's probably a bit of a stretch.
No, we can't do that to Denise. We can't do that to Denise.
I'm not trying to cut you out.
We can't do that to Denise.
But physical interaction is it does have a different energy when as opposed to social media. Because when you were saying it, I was like, well, let's get rid of social media then, and do it the old school way. But things have become so convenient. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Things can become so convenient, and hold on one second. Let me.
No, I mean, I agree. Like, things have. I don't think we need to get rid of it. I just think we need to manage it better. We need to manage ourselves.
As far as managing it better, we haven't even done that yet. As far as the managing part, it's like you try something out. Yeah, we haven't. We did
at one point in time. Hey, Yehugan, I watch this. Go back, watch. If you ever look at if you look at your post or other people's posts, like on Facebook 12, 13 years ago, the tone is totally different. It's completely different than it is right now. When we were in the early stages, it was something. It wasn't our consumed life. It was something that we dabbled in. It was fun to peer into, but it didn't consume this much of our lives then. Yeah,
it basically evolved and transformed to where it has, and the pandemic had a lot to do with that. Simply because we couldn't go outdoors and mingle with one another. Because before we were doing that, we were out and about, we were physically in people's presence, but now they have created this paradigm, if you will, as far as like everything has a platform. We're doing it online now. We don't meet up as much anymore. And then you talk about this balance. A lot easier said than done because people have gotten comfortable with being online, and it kind of it kind of shifted. And I actually have a friend that's on Facebook that she was talking about, her and her girlfriend, they get together and they meet up and they talk about what. And I'm not talking about no online stuff. I'm talking about like face to face, like having a sleepover and talking about whatever comes up, things like that. Like if you're trying to go back to that, not saying have a sleepover or whatever, but just go to the point to where everybody's in the same area and you can physically see the person's reaction, the words, and all of that. It has a different vibe, a different energy, a different feel, and we've all experienced this before the pandemic happened when we would have free thinkers every week physically, and you know how certain conversations would get a little heated, but it come back and then have the conversation, or no, I'm sorry, get back on track and go on to the next topic. Fact of the matter is, we just have become lazy in that area to where we're not able to have those physical one-on-one interaction, even if we do it on our own in a group setting with other people, or if you have somebody that is a significant other or somebody you're dating, it could be tough as well. But the point is that that it does need to be more of that, because social media and being on our phones have basically catapulted itself to the forefront as far as how we interact on a daily basis.
I agree. I would 1,000% agree. Like, even down to the fact of, like, somebody had just put a comment. I think his name was Lloyd. And it was a joke, or he was just basically saying, like, yeah, because back in the days, like, you would, what did he say? The old school way used to include fists. Exactly. Because the old school way,
Right.
we were in person, we had more respect. And
you have to have more respect, because it could turn a fist if you came at somebody the wrong way.
Precisely. So people,
Absolutely.
people had more respect.
People online, social, they talk to you in what they would never talk like that if they seen you. And like a lot of people would
like keep that same energy in person.
If they was in person, they wouldn't talk like that. A strong portion of them wouldn't talk like that.
Exactly. So it's like, it's people, and then even down to the fact that, like, people would go out more because that would be the only way that you could be social. So people just kind of being in these, like, silos, or like these echo chambers of, like, a bunch of people who think the same thing they think, because some algorithm threw them into this thing, and now they think this is what the world is. And to your point, Q, go out and have a real conversation with people outside of the internet. You will find that this is not what most people think. Usually some of the worst things that are being said, most people don't actually think like that. But because of the algorithms and things like that, you're thrown into these worlds that are real. They're small pocket. Like this thing I had posted recently about this thing called 4B.
If you go out into the real world, the algorithms can't control your circles.
Nope.
They can't control what you see and who you talk to and people who gonna agree with you and all of that. Yeah, that's true.
So it's like, go out into the real world, have a real experience. Like that thing I posted recently about 4B, where they were saying, like, women in Korea are, like, not marrying men, not sleeping with men, not having children with men. And some woman who actually lives in Korea was like, whoa, that may be a very small pocket that does that. But she's like, some of us are actually out here with matchmakers trying to meet somebody. We want somebody so bad. So it's just like, don't let the internet, and that's another thing, like, I just want to leave with everyone with, is like, don't let the internet make you lose hope in humanity. Because again, most people are not bad people. If they were, let me tell you, this world would be so crazy.
The internet.
It's the internet that brings out people's bullshit. But most people are not bad people. Most people are good people. Most people want to hear you out. Most people want to have a decent conversation and understand. It's the internet that just makes people think they're living in a debate show.
One thing that came to mind.
I ain't even touch on that.
One thing that came to mind as far as us as humans and needed that human interaction, it made me think about those who have been in solitary confinement. No human interaction whatsoever for a very long period of time. What does that do to their psyche when they haven't interacted with a human being for that long? And from what I've heard, that they go ballistic or bananas because they have nobody to talk to, or basically they end up worse than they went in there when they come out. So the thing is, the mental capacity that a person has to have who's in solitary confinement that needs that human interaction but does not get it for a long period of time. You can imagine taking that same concept and applying it to our society as far as us being on social media and not having that human interaction. And I'm not talking about virtually, I'm talking about physically, face to face. What does that do to our psyche, especially when we had, and I'm going to take it all the way back to the pandemic, when we had to be 6 to 10 feet away from somebody. We had to be locked into our house. If we got sick, we had to be in solitary confinement basically for a 2-week period of time. You know, that what is that? That will be my question. Like, what does that do to a person's psyche when they don't have a human interaction for that long period of time? I'll just 2 weeks or maybe more. So I thought about that when you was talking, Denise.
That's so good, because we need to do a study on what the pandemic did to us, like how that shifted so much and created so many issues. Like, again, I remember, I swear, I tell y'all this all the time. I remember the first hug I had gotten after I hadn't gotten hugs in a long time, because I wasn't around people that I was like close enough to where you would want to touch each other during the pandemic. Because if it ain't someone that you living with and like are with, you're not touching, you're not hugging, you're not getting close. And I remember my first like real hug, like someone squeezed me when they hugged me, and I will never forget that hug in all of my life, because I was so touch deprived. It was insane. And this was a platonic hug, and I will not forget this hug, because that's how touch deprived I was. And to your point, like, if people are in solitary confinement and come out and they're never the same, imagine what we went through collectively. And then we finally do. That's probably why we're arguing so much, so because we don't even know how to be around each other, because
let me tell you one last. I had a crazy thought, because you started talking about that. We were talking about social media. We got away from it a little bit, but I had a thought. Like, we keep talking about how AI is probably gonna take over us, like like in Terminator 2, and then we're going to go to war with the machines, or the iRobot, all these different things. And I'm always looking at different things. I'm like, what if AI just gets us to go to war against ourselves? AI can just manipulate us against another country or against another race, and they can get us to literally go to war with ourselves, because they know how to manipulate and to polarize and to feed the right information to the right type of people and get us to go to war. And now we are at war with someone that we're not actually fighting. They'll have us fighting each other, not even knowing what the real enemy is.
Yeah, they call it the Matrix.
That's a thought.
That was good. That's good. Oh, that's so good.
That's a thought.
That's so
and I'm
good.
Like, that may be the next war. AI will instigate a war of us fighting against ourselves. And you know what the real twisted thing is? This is so twisted. Oh, once we start up a whole nother world war that AI has instigated and started, a lot of people and countries and organizations will turn to AI to help get them an advantage. Like, I'm telling you, oh man, it's gonna be. I just hope I'm dead before this happens. But
that's what's happening. That's why I said we're already in the event. When Yehudanon asked, I was like, we're already there. We're in the middle of it, and we don't even know it.
Yep,
we're already there, baby.
And then the little subtle things, like the internet magically shutting down, major cities losing power for a couple weeks. Like, all of these are just little tests to see the response, see the reaction. Yeah. All right, we have 45 minutes all over again.
The next phase. phase one. Now we're on the phase two.
All right, so
This,
guys,
that, and the third.
yeah, and I'm sure they're thinking steps and steps and steps ahead.
They already are.
What if? Oh
It's
my
just
god!
being
All right,
put in
I'm gonna
motion.
stop. I'm gonna stop. I ain't gonna even.
Do it.
I'm not even gonna go that far.
Do
I got
it.
another thought.
You want to go that far?
What if?
Try me. Try me.
No, I'm gonna throw this out here, and I'm on a far fetched run right now.
Let's do it.
You just in
and it was-
intergalactic heaven right now.
Oh yeah, this how my brain get on. What if
His
there's
brain is
actually
warped.
no. Let me ask. What if there's actually no such thing as AI?
Then who's AI?
But it's
if
actually-
AI got AI, who's AI?
There
That
is it.
1%
There's
that we talk about.
there's the creator behind it, the mind behind AI.
the 1% that we talk about, and they find a way to mask and say, "Oh, this ain't us. This is the AI doing this." But really, it's a group of people
Now,
behind
unless-
it that funnels all of this information.
It is, and they're
But they
very,
call
and
it
they're
AI
very,
because
they're very smart individuals. Now, the only thing that will give it a twist or a turn is if AI turned on its maker that created it and started to
But what
formulate
if there's
its.
no? What if, and it's still hypothetical, what if there is no AI? We've been told to believe that there's an artificial intelligence, and it's not artificial. It's an actual intelligence, and they have a system of network of people who are actually funneling information the way that they want to. This is not just the machine having a mind of its own. It's still controlled by people.
But that's true because that is no what if. Who creates the algorithm? Who changes the algorithm?
Yeah, there has to be
See?
a creator. There's a creation.
Who trains Chat GPT and Gemini and all these other sources?
Mhm.
They are trained by human beings. Who's trained them?
But not just trained. We assume that it was set up this way, and now the AI and now these different things are running on their own. But what if they're not?
It's by design.
They're being operated by someone.
Oh, 1,000%.
Yes.
Because think about it. Like for example, like I don't know how often y'all use ChatGPT, but that's my shit. I have it check my grammar all the time. But let's say you're using something like ChatGPT to write a statement or this or that or something like that. It's such an easy way to create groupthink because you don't have to think. You just go to the system. You'll say, write something about this. It's going to use certain language. The same, like, why is everybody using diabolical? Why is everybody using that term? Like, you know what I mean? Like, just small stuff like that where it's like slowly creating groupthink where people are slowly just saying the same shit and they don't even know where they got this information from. They don't even have any facts. They don't even remember the article. I'm guilty as hell. I'm like, why the hell do I think Kamala was locking up buku black dudes? I think I read it somewhere in an article, but did I do my proper research? Do I really know what's going on? Like, how do I even know any of this shit? Why, you know what I mean? Like, it's so much information coming at you
Right.
at any given time. You have to really just decide what you think is true because you don't even remember where the hell you found the shit out at. It's not like before where you had to sit down, read a book, digest the book.
Yep.
You know who the author is. You know what I mean? Things like that. Like now it's just like information. Boom, 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 boom.
Information overload.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to
Which
be
is by
careful about
design.
that. That's why I'm selective about
Well,
how
There,
the type
there,
of information and how much I allow.
I'm sure that there is a team that is operating that we say that is existence there of individuals that is flushing that, I wouldn't say flushing, but controlling, whatever information that comes out or the itself. So, you can't have something that is in existence without something behind it. Someone, I would say someone, not something, someone behind it monitoring to make sure it's functioning the way it's supposed to function.
And that was the
and
US, the whole thing with TikTok.
Yeah, there's no way you can get around that as far as that goes. You have social media being monitored by somebody that's monitoring, like, kind of like, for example, you can't post something on Facebook now because you're being in violation of the community guidelines, and then you're being thrown in Facebook jail. You have somebody's monitoring that. somebody is monitoring your data that you
I'm like, who
post.
monitoring that? Talking about an independent
know.
fact checker. Stop.
Yeah, like but the fact of the matter is, whether if it's artificially intelligence or not, or whatever it is, there is a human being behind it that is monitoring the functionality of whatever that is, whether if it operates on its own or whether if it doesn't. That is my position.
For sure. For sure. So with that being said, everybody, we gotta be mindful. You gotta be mindful. You gotta ask yourself, why do I believe this thing? Where did I get this information from? Is this source reliable? Or does this source have a bias? Like all of these things, like constantly be questioning, doing your due diligence.
And let me throw this part in here, Denise. With all of the information that I'm acquiring, is it actually assisting me in becoming more one with myself?
The information that you're gathering?
Why?
Yes. All of this information that I'm gathering, is it making me a more whole person? Okay, am I becoming more one with myself? Is it actually helping me connect the dots, or is it just producing more dots that I have to figure out how to connect? Like a lot of this stuff, a lot of people keep getting more and more information, not knowing what to do with it, and it doesn't really help their quality of life.
Got it.
That's my biggest gripe out of everybody. Like, it's like all of the, okay, this and you read this. Did you read this? But how is this helping your life though? Do you have more peace in your life? Do you have more joy? Are you more secure about the future? Are you like, tell me how is this information benefiting?
I'm a quote.
Your atmosphere, your circle, all of that. Like, what is it doing?
I'm a quote.
Besides just confusing you.
I'm a quote Professor Maurice Phibbs. Knowledge is power. If one doesn't have knowledge, one cannot seize power. So the point of that is that even though it may not have some type of effect on your life today or right now, it can spawn an idea that will have you alter or change something in your life that you maybe have not thought of at this point in time, or maybe 5 and 10 years down the road. And since we're in the information age, and there's a lot of information out there, it is up to the person that's receiving that information that should learn how to decipher what is useful and what is not useful.
There we go.
The Bible talks about knowledge puffs up. It puffs up. So there's so much knowledge out there that you can't contain all the knowledge in the world, in a day or two. It takes a lifetime, and you can pick any particular subject matter. It's going to take you a lifetime to master whatever that is. But it's playing chess, not checkers. It's the way you utilize that information and that power that may help you, or it may help somebody else that may be looking for that information that you may have, and vice versa.
Okay, two things.
Each one teach one.
Number one, food can be considered fuel, but it has to be done in the right proportions. I don't even care if you eat healthy. If you eat too much, it becomes detrimental to you because you're actually putting in more than your body can process at that time. That's number one. Number two, I understand that, especially you, Hookah, now you know that there's a difference between knowledge and wisdom. Two different things. And we understand the difference between knowledge and wisdom. Wisdom is the application of that knowledge. That's part one, but also this is a rhetorical question that I'm throwing out there. We understand that knowledge and wisdom is two different things. Knowledge and information the same thing? Because I would argue we're stuffing ourselves on information and not necessarily even knowledge. Forget about the wisdom part. Yeah,
knowledge is wisdom to know what to do with the information.
No, wisdom is the understanding on how to apply the knowledge of what you obtain. So wisdom is the application and the ability to use that knowledge which you've obtained. So it's kind of it's backwards.
I think
so wisdom,
the knowledge and the information. I think the knowledge and the information goes hand in hand, because with the information you're learning something, and it's kind of chew the meat to spit out the bone, because not every information is great information to where it's useful or beneficial, but you will learn something from that information and filter out the what you've learned from that, turn that into knowledge, and then turn it into wisdom as far as applying it. It's kind of like, when you drink water, you have a filter that filters out all the, contamination that's contained in the water to get the water that is fit for you to drink. And it's kind of the same thing when you get information, you filter out the parts that you don't like, the nasty stuff. And then you contain the part that makes sense to your psyche or whatever, and incorporate and tie that into the wisdom that you have and apply it.
Okay, that's part of my problem, Yehukanan. A lot of stuff that we get, especially through social media, when you talk about gaining information that attaches to your psyche and connects with you, then that's when you get into more of the realm of knowledge. I think there's a large portion of things that don't even, it's just information. We are information junkies, and a lot of it is not even knowledge.
Yeah, that's it. Nothing else. It's information.
When I say knowledge, oh, God dang. So when I say it's not knowledge, just information, number one, in one sense, we can't even confirm the information.
Okay.
To say it's knowledge. And even on a deeper level, we've gotten to the place to where we're comfortable with the information without even verifying that it's knowledge.
Oh.
And we'll just take something wrong with it. So that's why I said the information. So
you're talking about validation to make sure that knowledge, the information being presented is concrete.
Yes. And we don't even do that anymore. Oh my God, Yehukanan, Denise. There's a larger portion of people. Just validation. I say this, there's more people who will have an argument about the front page of a meme that has a headline of somebody's face on it, and we'll argue about such and such says that black men are not good enough, and we have a whole conversation about it. And not once, the majority of people won't even click on it to catch the context of what the person was saying when they said it. We're comfortable just arguing about the front page with no we don't even have a desire for context anymore.
Yeah, you got a point there. Yeah, seeking the validation of whatever that means.
I'm one of the few people who watched the 3 hours and 11 minutes of Kanye West on his rant on drink. Because I know if I'm a talk about Kanye, I need to hear everything that he's saying in context. You just can't take a piece of what he says and be like, "Oh, I agree with this."
And not even just
it's a whole train ride you got to listen to.
Yeah, not even just a meme, a clip, like a 4-minute clip of something.
Yes.
Hold on, man.
A 30-second clip. Most people ain't gonna go past 60 seconds. I'm like, do you know the rest of the thing? And I
ain't gonna go to a person's Instagram to check. I saw something. There was like several people reposting that Simone Biles said she's done, she's pregnant, da 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 da. And I'm like,
and people have a whole conversation about it.
Go on, went on Instagram. Like, this lady has not said anything about being pregnant. She doesn't mention anything about quitting, and it would just run and repost it. And it's just like all this misinformation that's going out there. To your point, do I even need to know that she's pregnant? How does this benefit my life? How does this change my life? How much of this information does anything for me? I don't need to know that Cardi B's pregnant. I don't need to know that her and Offset are getting divorced. What does this do for my day-to-day and my growth? It doesn't. It's just information there.
Yep.
So are y'all looking for something as far as information that you can apply to your day-to-day life?
I don't think I think I'm constantly seeking that, but not necessarily from the internet. I seek that in just like conversations like this. I'm walking down the street, I meet
Right.
a person, they're interesting, I'll start talking to them about stuff, and if there's something that's been on my mind, I'll bring this subject up to them, and I'm like, what do you think about this? Or have you noticed this? Or have you felt these things? Or like, I think I just seek knowledge on a regular basis in every
Right.
form, just because I'm naturally kind of curious. So, I mean, yeah, if somebody sends something my way that I think's interesting, I'll probably look into it, depending on my mood.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was a question, but
All right, y'all. We went a whole nother hour.
okay. Okay,
Well, you the one that had the thought.
All right. I know. I told you I shouldn't have did it.
And you the one that had the thought. I'm trying to think it up
told you
going
I
over
shouldn't have
time.
did
it.
That's all on you, player.
Had it. I ain't blaming you. I'm just trying to. Hey, I blame myself, and now let me correct my wrong.
Hey.
Bye, y'all. Have a good one.